remains basically unknown. Let me explain why I feel so strongly about Mr. Paraskevakos, or as I call him, TGP. I hate telephones. I'm not talking about smartphones. I'm fine with texting and emailing and finding out the weather and sports scores. I love being able to Google an actor's name I forgot or who won the 1949 World Series. All that is good, so perhaps I should be more specific. I hate talking on the telephone. Actually, I'm not a big fan of talking at all, to anyone. A select few people are exempt from this. My wife Lori and my son Ricky come to mind. But the great thing about them is that we can be in a room without talking, and no one minds. The pregnant pauses can last almost as long as a real-life pregnancy, and none of us get annoyed or pissed off. Silence is golden. I also don't mind talking to my friends Vince Sanders and Pete Stanton when we hang out at Charlie's sports bar. But that's because our conversation consists mostly of insults with some sports thrown in. Insult talking and sports talking are acceptable forms of discourse when done in moderation and in person. And that's one of the many things I love about dogs. The human, in this case me, completely controls the dialogue. That's not to say the dog can't respond and convey his or her feelings and opinions, but they use a wag of the tail or a smile or a head tilt or a growl. Tara, my golden retriever, communicates better and is more eloquent than 90% of the people I know. She is the Winston Churchill of dogs. I certainly dislike talking in my occasional forays into a courtroom, but as a sometimes defense attorney, I'm forced into it. I hate writing briefs even more than talking, but that's sort of beside the point since I have another lawyer who does that for me. But telephone talking is the worst, because talking is the entire purpose of being on the phone in the first place. There's nothing else to do. You have this thing stuck next to your ear and mouth, and you have to keep feeding it. It's intrusive. Part of the reason that people live in homes with doors and locks on those doors is that they want privacy and peace. Phones destroy that serenity. Suddenly a bell starts ringing and there's an outsider in your home and you're forced to greet them. And most of the time you're expected to chit-chat before they come to the point. And sometimes there is no point. Chit-chatting is an end in itself. I hate Alexander Graham Bell for what he did, and that brings me to the aforementioned Theodore George Paraskevakos. TGP invented caller ID, and by doing so provided a peephole on the telephone door through which one can look and choose to admit or ban the person calling. I, Andy Carpenter, am probably the only person in America who is relieved to learn that an incoming call is from a telemarketer. At least they have a specific reason for calling. They're not looking to make small talk. And I'm quite sure that they don't get offended if someone hangs up on them or screens their calls. They expect it. It's part of the job description. Bottom line is that I am not antisocial, but I do have a definite bias against telephone conversation. Of course, there are exceptions, and I just had one. I called Chris Myers, who is a friend and technically an employee at the Terra Foundation. That's the dog rescue operation that my friend and former client Willie Miller and I run, along with Willie's wife Sandra. Chris answered, and we dispensed with the "how are you" in a few seconds. We both answered good, since that's the only proper response. Except for maybe, "Do I look fat in this dress?" and "Do you want a bite of my cake?" There is no question to which an honest answer is less welcome than, "How are you?" "We've got a problem with the puppies." He answered, "I know. I assume you want me to solve it?" "How'd you guess?" I asked if he had time to meet me down at the foundation now. "Sure. There's something I want to talk to you about as well." Then we both hung up. That was it. I first met Chris Myers when he was in prison. Usually, when I go to a prison to see someone, I bring along a heavy dose of guilt, since I'm invariably visiting a client of mine who got convicted despite my efforts. But Chris was never my client, so I was off the hook for that one. I didn't know much about his